Today's guest took a life-changing moment and turned it into a movement, raising millions of dollars to fight cancer through wrestling. I'm talking with Dan Tramontozzi, the founder of Pin Cancer, and you're not going to believe how he's using his passion of the sport to take on one of life's toughest battles. Very interesting what he's done here. Really love this cause. And if you're loving this content, enjoying this podcast, please give me a subscribe, like, follow. Always looking forward to getting people's contacts, so feel free to drop a comment on here as well. Now, Dan Tramontozzi, let's get it. Welcome back to Fight Capital, where we enter the ring of combat sports business. I'm your host, Ryan Rapaport. Today, I'm happy to be joined by Dan Tramontozzi, who's a former Division I wrestler and the founder and executive director of Pin Cancer, a nonprofit organization that empowers the wrestling community to raise awareness and funds for cancer research. After his mother was diagnosed with cancer, Dan used his marketing expertise to grow Pin Cancer from a local grassroots initiative into a nationally recognized platform that's raised millions of dollars to support families affected by cancer. Alongside his nonprofit work, Dan is also director of CBD Distillery, where he continues to apply his deep knowledge of digital growth and marketing strategy. Thanks for joining me today, Dan. How are you and where are you joining from?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on, Ryan. And I am joining you from the great wrestling state of New Jersey.
It's funny because we were just talking about Skylar. I know that she's a Blair alum, right? If I recall correctly, one of the all-time great schools for putting out talent out there, and also the home state of New Jersey. So I appreciate you having you on, man, and thanks for joining me. I'm just curious, what inspired you to launch Pin Cancer after your mother's diagnosis, and how has this wrestling community responded to the cause that you've been pioneering over the years?
I was affected firsthand. I got the news right out of college, basically, that my mom had been diagnosed with stage 3 ovarian cancer. And the doctors basically said she had 5 years to live. I newly graduated college. I was trying to get my career. I think I had my first job, but I was also coaching wrestling at the time for the same club that I, trained out throughout my career. And it was just something that affected me. I didn't see anything in the sport. So I said, let me take a crack at this and let's see if we can start building an organization to help people that are affected firsthand. And so I just borrowed a couple bucks from my coach and bought some t-shirts, went around locally to some small youth program tournaments and some matches up here in North Jersey, sold them. I paid them back, I think, a week later. And, fast forward to today, we've done a lot more. It's just something I've always done on the side. But this year, I'm just in a mindset I want to blow it up and make this a really big thing. So that's where we're at.
I love that, man. I think it should be underestimated, the fact how you've just taken what is a small thing and turned it into a very large thing. If I highly recommend anyone watching this to go to the Pin Cancer website, which I'll make sure to plug it in everywhere. But just all of the people who are supporting this cause, just the high wrestlers who are currently wrestling, the legends, the coaches, the people that are behind it, the MMA athletes as well who are supporting it. It's been really cool to see. But I'd love you to just talk about some of the challenges that you faced in turning this grassroots campaign into a nationally recognized nonprofit.
Yeah, I think the biggest challenge was I was super stubborn as a young kid, and I said, I'm going to do all this myself. And that's definitely hampered our growth, I think, throughout the years. As you mentioned, I think we're over 3 million at this point, but I know for a fact, I can't do all this on my own anymore. And that's why I'm starting to bring more board members in. I actually got an interview for a board member right after we get off today, and bringing Skylar on board. And just like you mentioned, these big time names in wrestling and the UFC and the partnerships that we're creating with Takedown Sportswear, and it's just about awareness and getting eyeballs on us right now. So, but getting back to your original question, the biggest challenge I think was to try to do everything by myself. And as I've gotten older, over the past 10 years of doing this, I've realized I've tapped out in terms of time and resources. So it was time to start bringing some people on board, and it's been working out great.
Well, it's no easy feat, man. But obviously, you had some skills that you were bringing to the table just to get it to this way. Can you just talk about how you utilize some of your marketing background to drive that growth, and what do you think has been the most effective strategies in raising awareness?
Yeah, I mean, I've been in marketing and e-commerce for 15 years now, more than that at this point. Pink Cancer actually helped me, I think, jumpstart my career because I had no money to hire anybody. So I went to school for business and just fell in love with the marketing piece of it. So that's how I landed my first job. And I think what's really helped us propel and for me to just do a lot with a little and by myself was having that technical background and those skills. So building my own website, running my own ads, doing all the creative, designing my own shirts and all that stuff is, to be honest, it was fun. But looking back at it, it's really played dividends for my career. I think if you reverse it, I tell people it was my own MBA. I didn't have to pay for it. I just had to put a lot of time in, and I did. That was the one thing that I think people don't see. And maybe if someone's new to Pink Cancer, they're going to be like, oh, like this is probably just started a couple years ago. No, I've been doing this since I was about 23 years old. So it's been a long time and countless hours and late nights. And over the past 4 years, unfortunately, with COVID hitting, we took a little bit of a hit. So Pink Cancer took a back seat. I had 2 young kids and all that stuff. I was switching careers, leaving Unilever, going to startups and doing all that fun stuff. But I'm in a position now where I have the skills, and now it's finding people that can match or at least balance out the skills that I'm lacking. And that's where I'm at. It's just, but yeah, my marketing background definitely helped. And when you're able to do all that yourself, it makes it a lot easier because you're not paying anyone to do it. So.
For me personally, I can never underestimate how difficult wrestling is. I wrestled in high school, hardest thing I've ever done by far in terms of like physical activity. As a former wrestler yourself, how did that experience that you got in the sport influence the way you approached your fight against cancer through Pin Cancer?
Yeah, I mean, our slogan is the world's toughest sport is taking on the world's toughest opponent. And I truly believe that it teaches you toughness. I think the mindset that wrestlers have, no one's doing this for a profession. There's no professional wrestling at the end of the tunnel, unfortunately. So you really have to fall in love with the sport. And I think what these athletes do fall in love with is the fact that like everything's on you. It's up to you to win the match. Obviously there's a team score, but no one is out there helping you. So I feel like that mindset that you learn from a very young age and the discipline, and I think shout out to the Zanetti brothers, what they're doing with wrestling mindset. I think a lot of people should get engaged with them, not just wrestlers, but business professionals. But going back to your point, wrestling definitely played a huge role in getting this off the ground. Obviously it's our audience, but at the same time, just the help that we've gotten, volunteers, like they just pour it into helping, people in the wrestling community and on our cause. But yeah, the sport, there's no greater sport. I mean, look at the UFC right now. You got wrestlers that are just dominating because I think of just the mat awareness and understanding where your opponent's going to go, probably even before they understand where they're going is a huge advantage. And wrestlers just, I don't know, it's like a sixth sense, man. It's tough to compete on that level. And then when you filter in like the UFC or the MMA part of it, my college roommate was Dennis Bermudez. We wrestled together.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, out in Bloom. And, we didn't know it at the time that he was going to go on to have a really, great career in the UFC. We're screwing around in our house and he'll grab us out of nowhere and like tap us out. And we were like, what the heck? So like when you have that wrestling background, it's like learning the next thing is actually, I think, fairly easy. It's just, you have a big advantage, but no, wrestling has definitely taught me a lot, but I would say the top things is just toughness and mindset. Those two things. I think if you're going to do something like build a business or have an organization like this, you're going to have a lot of ups and downs and being able to stay tough and work through that and have the mindset to understand that like you have to be a little patient and things will work out. I think wrestling plays a big part in that.
Well, you guys have this super ambitious goal to raise over $10 million, and I'm sure you will do that and exceed that and hit the next one. But what are the next steps for Pin Cancer in terms of growth and outreach?
Yeah, so right now I'm looking to hire 2 more board members. I actually posted this on LinkedIn last week. We've gotten over like 50 applicants, and some of them are just, to be honest, I was shocked, like very heavy hitters coming from fairly large corporations and brands that want to help us. And I think that's what we need. I have a great board right now, but I would say our biggest downfall is we know all the same people. We're all wrestlers. We're all been in the wrestling community. And now it's time for us to get some outside help. A lot of people that I am interviewing actually have a wrestling background, so that kind of helps as well. And some of them have already shared that they've been affected by cancer. So that's number one for me in the next couple of weeks, is to grow our board, just so we can kind of grow our reach and our connections and all that good stuff. Number two is to continue recruiting our brand ambassadors. We call them brand champions. We started doing that a few years back when the NCAA lifted all their restrictions and introduced, NIL. So I got to say, almost 100% of wrestlers that we reach out to say, absolutely, let's do this. And now they're sharing their stories on why they're supporting us. And we're just trying to figure out, like, how else can we utilize some of these biggest names in college wrestling and, like you mentioned, USA wrestling to really help. I just a college coach, and now he's on the USA Wrestling board. I'm not going to mention any names, but his wife was just diagnosed and she's beating it. She's doing great. And she just sent me the nicest note the other night and said, like, thank you for everything you're doing. And really, that's like super motivating. I just wanted to put that out there, that people that donate and help this cause, we're trying to help people in the wrestling community. Unfortunately, a lot of people are affected. So those are the first two. And the last one is just, we need to get more eyeballs on our organization. I want everybody in the wrestling community to know that we exist. That is not the case right now. I shared this a couple of weeks ago on another podcast. I was out at the Olympic trials and mentioned, just ran into somebody and he was talking about cancer and how it's affected certain people. And I said, have you ever heard of pink cancer? And he said, no. And I was like, I need to change that. So the one way we're going to change that is I partnered with Tyrant Wrestling, with Corey Frederick, is a great guy, and he's allowing us to essentially travel with all of his tournaments, set up a booth. We have the Columbus Day duels we'll be going out to PA this weekend or next weekend, and there's 86 mats at that tournament. So it's like, we're going to have a booth there. We're going to be there. We're going to be present. It's been a couple years since I've been doing that. So I'm kind of joking to my wife now. I'm like, I'm hitting my tour. I'm going on the road. I'll be down at Super 32 most likely next month. So it's a matter of me just reaching out to everybody that we've had connections with in the past. And everybody at this point has been so awesome. They've been saying, yes, absolutely, come down. Like, shout out to Super 32 because they just let me come down and set up a booth, right? And they actually donate to us every year. A lot of people don't know that. And that's probably the last thing, is I need to do a better job of marketing my own nonprofit. I know I need to do that, and just like better storytelling, really understand, like, we just sent a donation to UPenn Medicine for $15,000, and we'll be heading out there at the end of the month to present them with a check. And I was never, like, I don't know why I never asked this, because it is a big part of a nonprofit's success. Those types of media opportunities where, yeah, we're doing a good job. We're donating thousands of dollars to a specific fund. Like, we need to tell that story. So that's what we'll be doing. Rob Schmidt, who's on my board, he's the reason why we're donating to them. It's actually his doctor. He's battling cancer himself right now. Mm-hmm. So his son raised $15,000 last year through our Wrestle for a Cure campaign. And we wanted to help his family out. And Rob is just a selfless guy. He's a great guy. And he said, no, donate the money to my doctor for research and development, because he doesn't need the money. So that's where we're at. I know I just mentioned a bunch of things, but all of it is going to add up to our goals is to grow. And I think it just starts with getting people aware of what we're doing, and hopefully the funds will follow that.
What's been, of this journey you've been on, which is a long, crazy one, but what's been the most rewarding aspect of seeing the wrestlers and fans rally behind Pin Cancer to support such a personal cause for you?
I mean, for me personally, the most rewarding is when people reach out and just thank us. They'll share their story. And for me, like, I lost my mom at 27 years old. And to me, I feel like nobody should have to go through that. And there's kids that are losing parents even younger than that, or there's families that are losing their children. And it's just a terrible thing. And I think that's been the best part about it, is really understanding that we are making an impact and helping people. A lot of our donations used to go to St. Jude. We're kind of pulling back a little bit from St. Jude, and now we're trying to help families with bills, car repair, whatever that may be. Obviously, the research and the funding is a big part of it, so they'll stay a beneficiary of ours. But I think where we need to go is tell a better story and do a better job of helping families in the wrestling community that are affected firsthand, only because they are out there. And for me, that's the reason why we're doing it, and that's the most rewarding aspect of it, is just that alone.
Hey everyone. Quick favor to ask. Did you know that nearly 80% of the people tuning in right now aren't subscribed yet? That subscribe button down below is what powers me every week to keep putting out these podcasts. Big shout out and thank you to everyone that's been supporting me for this. I couldn't do it without you. If you're enjoying the content, please subscribe below. It means the world to me. And for everyone supporting me, thank you so much. Now back to the show. As someone who's built and scaled brands across multiple different sectors, what advice would you give to others who are looking to combine their passion with philanthropy?
Do it. It was the best decision I ever made. At 23 years old, I had no idea what I was going to get out of it. Looking back over those years, it's paid a lot of dividends. It's helped me just boost my career much faster, I think, because of what I've learned. I pride myself on always learning, and the best way you're going to learn is by doing. So I'm not a huge fan of, I've always, in my mind, went back and forth, should I go back to school and get my MBA? Now, if you ask me today, 100% I would not do that. It's just my personal opinion. I don't think it's worth it. I think if you can actually show someone, especially in like marketing or growth, if you can show somebody that you can actually do this with your own money and do it yourself, don't you think that makes you more qualified than someone that just has sat in a classroom and maybe learned something? Not saying that there's anything wrong with that, but I feel like that kind of holds a little bit more credibility. So, as you mentioned, back in like 2017, I co-founded Terra Grappler, which is now Matterborn. And that was just a side project that my buddy and I did for fun, to be honest. And we scaled it and grew it, and we sold it in the beginning of this year, right? So like, I can put that on my resume and say like, no, I've literally done this with my own money. Because when you're like spending your own dollars, you know how to optimize that return a lot more, and you're very smart about it. Where I feel like if you work for a big corporation, which I've done in the past with Unilever, you have millions of dollars in your marketing budget, and not a lot of people are looking at the results. Yeah, my advice would be to just start it. Don't just overthink it. Every day I'm overthinking something, and I just have to like stop and just do it. Like, I know there's a bunch of stuff on my plate right now that I just have to sit down and do it. And typically when I don't have any distractions, today I'm home alone, I'll usually bang all that stuff out. But yeah, getting back to your point, my advice is just to try it, because especially with a nonprofit, there's probably not a lot of money that you have to put into it. It's just a matter of time if you have a little bit of the skills. If you don't have the marketing skills, reach out to me and I'll see if I have the time to help you.
Well, you're the first philanthropic organization director that I've had on, and this was an important one for me too, as someone I've had. One of my good friends lost his father to cancer 2 years ago. My mother-in-law is a cancer survivor, so this is a very, not just a worthy thing that you're doing, but not an easy thing to do. And I'm glad that you're taking the approach that you are, in the combination of the sports, the passion, and the everything that you've built. It's just been really cool to see and learn about. So thanks so much for joining me today, Dan. Before we get going, is there anyone, obviously as a philanthropic organization, there's going to be so many people to shout out, but are there any brands that you're particularly working with, or anyone that you want to give a shout out to before we get going?
Yeah, I mentioned him before, Corey Frederick with Tyrant Wrestling. He runs some of the best wrestling tournaments throughout the country. We reconnected. Actually, he asked a question, I think, on Facebook about e-commerce, and I commented, and then we had a couple phone calls, and now all of a sudden we're in this partnership again. And he ran our tournament back in 2019. It was the best tournament we ever did. We did like $170,000 on the weekend. So we're looking to do more tournaments this year, and Corey's going to be the guy behind it running them. So shout out to Corey and Tyron. I'm looking forward to that partnership. Also, this will be the second year we partnered with Takedown Sportswear. So Takedown, and Dustin is a great guy, the CEO. He reached out, and I actually just had a call with them yesterday. They're super pumped. They donate a lot of money to us. So one of the biggest fundraisers we do is called Wrestle for a Cure. It's online. Any wrestler can sign up. We launch it in October. And we incentivize the kids to raise as much money by, if they raise $150, they get a t-shirt. If they raise $300, they get fight shorts with that as well. And the platform that I use is called Classy. And what's nice is once I build it, everything runs itself. So if you sign up and you raise $150, you're going to get an email that says like, congratulations, keep going. Like, you just earned this shirt, you're making a big impact. And to be honest, that really allows us to stay engaged with all of our supporters on there. But getting back to the partnership with Takedown Sportswear, they donate a lot of money, I think like more than $10,000 each year for those rewards that we give out. So like that helps, and we're looking for more partnerships like that, where if it benefits us and it can kind of offset some of our fundraising costs, like we're all about it. We're also open to just, flat partnerships in terms of if a business is looking for a tax write-off at the end of the year. And we try to give back to those businesses. I treat this as a business, and we get them in front of our audiences. They'll be on our website. They'll have signage at events and all that good stuff. And we're trying to take it a little bit further with some of our ambassadors and getting them in. So like if a business donates 20 grand, say, we'll try to get a former Olympic champ or something to come in and talk to their business, right? And that's what's cool about this sport is I think salesmen or whatever really industry you're in, they can get a lot from maybe a former wrestler coming in and talking about their success and how they did that. So those are the two right off the top of my head. Who else? Super 32, only because they allow us to come down there, and that's got to be the toughest preseason tournament in the world. So while we're there, we'll obviously be spreading awareness, but also looking to recruit some new brand ambassadors and stuff like that.
Well, yeah, and shout out to Takedown Sports, great fan of theirs too. I've experienced a lot of their gear through the PFL and their partnership there, and so always good to see when big brands are getting behind causes like this. And just again, kudos to you and the team for attacking this in the way that you are. I think you're doing an amazing job. Really looking forward to. I'll make sure to add some links in here too, so if anyone wants to learn more to also get that tax write-off and investing their hard-earned dollars into a worthy cause like this. Really looking forward to seeing that grow. And just thanks again for joining me. I love this conversation and really excited for you to hit the road, and wishing you best of luck.
Thanks, Ryan. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Thanks for joining me today.